signing with an agent as an actor. I thought I'd talk about my experience with getting an agent and what that process was like for me, what the ups and downs were, and things like that, and just share with you all who are beginning actors or actors who have been in this industry for a while trying to find an agent who might have any thoughts or just want to hear somebody's input. Uh, so I thought I'd share, starting with how things were going so wrong before I got an agent. When I was first starting out, I had no first team or cast member roles. Thankfully, I do have some cast member roles now and have network level experience and have grown. But when I was first starting out, I had nothing. I moved to Atlanta from Virginia, and I remember doing this showcase. So, like, for a typical showcase, or in my experience, a showcase, you have a group of people. Typically, they'll take a class, they'll have a showcase at the end of the summer or the end of the fall or winter when their class is over, or it could be a standalone. And what will happen is you'll pick a scene and you'll have a reader, and they'll call each name, and one by one you'll go up, you'll do your scene in front of agents and casting directors and managers or whoever may be there. Typically, for the most part, it's mainly always agents, with some casting directors as well. Casting will be there as well, and you're pitching yourself. You're performing in front of them for a showcase, and then after that, you might give them some material like your resume, your headshot, and as well, you might get to present your demo reel. I've noticed in the virtual showcases that they do that, but not always. But you'll submit your demo reel. And when I was first starting out, I could not get an agent. I had some network level set experience. I had worked on companies such as Apple TV, NBC, other various companies, but I was an extra. I got to work a lot of days. I got to have a lot of fun, make a lot of friends, talk with cast, and network with people. But I was still working as background. I wasn't getting first team jobs. I wasn't getting jobs that I could use for my demo reel. It was a lot of fun though. I think extra work's a great thing to do, especially set commercial extra work and network level extra work. But when it was coming to talking with these agents, on my resume, all I had was extra work. And some agents don't want you to have extra work. In my opinion, most all agencies and casting directors, first team, do not want you to have extra work on your resume. It doesn't mean that you should never do it. It doesn't mean that there isn't special circumstances, because there can be, especially if you're very featured and you can use that for your demo reel. Say you're a featured extra and you're playing opposite Morgan Freeman, and Morgan Freeman's talking to you for 2 minutes straight, and you're playing like a high school student and he's the principal, but you don't say anything and you weren't hired as a no-line co-star or cast. You're just a featured extra. You're still a part of that production. The production's paid you, they believe in you enough, and they want you to play a substantial BG role on set as a background actor opposite Morgan Freeman. That's a very unique scenario where maybe you do put something like that on your resume, and maybe you use that on your demo reel. However, I did not have anything like that at the time back then. So I just had this one sheet, couple pieces of extra work, very minimal classes, which classes are so important. Being on set is so important to grow and hone your craft. So I go to the showcase. I go to do my scene. I did a Cobra Kai scene, which is something that filmed in Atlanta, and I bombed. I was awful. It was the kind of thing where I feel like, thinking back, I had no intent. I didn't know what my character wanted, and I just would freeze up and be like, "What do you mean, Jeff? What?" Like, it was just awful. It was not good. It was not good. So I felt like I bombed. But then I go up to talk to the casting director and the agents, and the casting director, I don't want to say her name, but she is amazing, and a very well-known casting director in Atlanta. And she took like 10 minutes to keep going over the scene with me during the showcase. So the showcase, they give feedback after you're done usually. That's not unusual, but the fact that it was like 10 minutes, I view that as, wow, I'm getting this time with this casting director. Maybe the agencies will like that. But I also view it as, oh my God, I'm so awful. Like no one's ever gonna sign me. What am I doing with my life? I need to go back to Virginia. But it was really unique. It meant so much to me, truthfully, that I got to have this time to talk with her in the showcase. And it actually, I do believe, benefited my career. I would say establishing a beginning relationship or a established beginning of a relationship with that casting director. But I did not sign with anyone at that showcase. I also did another workshop before that when I towards somewhere in the very beginning when I first moved to Atlanta for acting from Virginia, and I bombed that as well. It wasn't quite a showcase, it was a workshop, but you were doing 2 scenes. You would do your first scene, and the person who was there was a very well known agent for a very big agency in Atlanta. And I was so nervous, my nerves took over, and I also made up this entire script and scene. I made up this arcade scene. It was not real, professionally written dialogue. It was just made in like 5 minutes in the car, like trying to be like, oh, this sounds cool, that sounds cool, let me say this. And I just bombed. Awful. I remember when I was done, I just had this feeling like, man, when I sat down, I was like, everyone, I know, no one said anything or anything like that. They're all very kind. The agent who was there was very friendly, very kind, but I just had this feeling like, man, that was awful. And in my opinion, it was. I bombed. But it's okay. It was a learning experience. But after that, after those 2, I was like, I've got to figure something out. I had recently gotten headshots, which I think is a separate thing to talk about as well, maybe in a different video, because I feel like your headshots are so important in this industry, and sometimes can be overlooked at times, from people who are just starting out. Your headshot, in my opinion, is like your calling card, and you want to have a professional, and very diverse calling card. You want to have commercial where you're smiling. You want to have your dramatic. You want to have different looks for your headshots. So I got headshots, and I had my headshot. I had my resume, and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find all the emails I can of Atlanta agencies, because a lot of agents are, not all of them, a lot don't, but a lot do look for new talent and have what's called an open submission. So I emailed, there was ones that had open submissions, and I emailed them, and I actually got some responses. And at first I was freaking out. I remember seeing one, and I was like, oh my, this agency's interested in me. And it was an automated email that was like, dear applicant, or dear Logan, we are so excited that you sent this to us. Please give us X amount of time to get back. It was a very professional, like automated email. But I remember reading that and be like, dang, this was like very professional, and not like super forward like I thought it would be. They'd be like, hey, let's hop on a Zoom and talk, man. But I had an agency, I had a few agencies actually said, send us some of your material, and I had no material. I had a couple auditions, maybe not even enough to call a couple, maybe just like one or a few that were from student films, and non-union projects I was very lucky to get a chance to audition for from just self-submitting on Actors Access. And so I sent that over, to I think 2 agencies. And at that time too, around that time, a little before, I actually talked with an agent that was with, that big agency that I was talking about that did the workshop, where I just did not do good arcade story that didn't have put together dialogue, that couldn't transfer between the reader, that couldn't give what the character wanted. It was just made very quickly and did not truthfully tell a story. It was just very quickly, it did tell a story, but very broad and wasn't specific in ways that it should have been. It wasn't very dialogue heavy. But I did talk with that agency, with an agent on there, and we actually had a phone call, and it was really cool because they took like a half an hour to talk to me, and that agent with that agency, she was so kind, took a lot of time to talk with me, and I did not sign. I did not sign with her. And then the 2 agencies that got back to me on the cold emails that were accepting submissions, I sent my material. It was auditions, so that's all I had. I didn't have a professional demo reel because I didn't have professional first team cast experience at the time. And I remember one of the agents, she got back to me and she was like, "I love this. Let's talk more." In the broader sense of that, I believe there was more to it than that, but I think she said something else about her thoughts on the audition. But overall, it was like, "Let's talk more." And we hopped on a Zoom call, and we talked about general things. Like what kind of things do you all want to audition for? Where do you see your career going? What's your strengths? Just generalized questions that you would ask in an interview process. It was similar to that, but with an entertainment esque to it. It was all entertainment driven questions. I can't remember the exact questions, but it was similar to what I said. And about a week later, or a few days later, I signed with that agency, and that has been my agency for 2 years come August. I think I have my dates right, but I believe I signed 2 years ago come August. And I have booked multiple first team roles with that Atlanta agency. So thankful that they took a chance on me and that we're still working together. But yeah, I just wanted to share what it was like to get an agent with the ups and downs and the rejection of it. It's really it's rough. It's hard. It's hard even when you have an agent. It's hard when you're booking with your agent because just you want to keep furthering your career and taking next steps, and you want to book jobs. But yeah, that is my story of how I got an agent. To anyone watching, if you're an actor and you're trying to get an agent, I hope you. I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope that you do sign. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. And thank you so much for watching.